This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Paula Clare, aka Paula Elser. Paula was Haviland Morris's body double in John Hughes's immortal 1984 teen cult classic 16 Candles. You know, the scene where she's in the shower? Yes, that was Paula. It was not Haviland Morris after all. And it's going to be a great talk today. I cannot wait. Paula is also a singer, and she has her own band called the Sunshine Pops Orchestra, which you can go to um, YouTube, Spotify, or her website, www.paulaclaremusic.com, and listen to their music. It is fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And it's going to be a great conversation today. I can't wait. Man, she made a living at doing local commercials back in the 80s. You go to her YouTube channel Paula Clare. Oh my God, she did all these like local commercials for like Wisconsin manufactured homes, Cable Me, Baco's, Lewis Kemp, a lot of them. And it's going to be so fun to talk about all that stuff today. Also, tomorrow is National Quickie Day. And if you know me, you know I love quickies and I'm a quickie expert. So if you're sexually open, enjoy. Fuck in public, but don't get caught. Or stay at home and fuck in your favorite room. So yeah, here is my interview with Paula Clare. Yes, this is such a great honor. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm excited. I'm so happy to meet you.
I am so happy to meet you as well. So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting and music early on in your childhood?
I did. I started when I was about 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was Patty, in A Good Man, Charlie Brown. So that was my first role ever. Actually, no, let me take that back. I was a little dolly and I was doing the Little Teapot song, and that was in third grade. And then I was Patty in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Nice, nice. Did you do a lot of school plays and community theater overall in your childhood?
I did, community theater, and then I was in the Nutcracker, so I was a ballet dancer. I was in that, and then I was in Oliver. I was one of the workhouse boys. I looked like when I was a kid, I
Mm-hmm.
had really short hair, like a pixie cut.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was really skinny and like a string bean. So I kind of looked like a boy.
Were you a tomboy?
Yeah, I was a tomboy. Yeah, definitely a tomboy.
You
You
told
know.
me in a DM that you loved the old black and white movies growing up. Like, tell me what were some of them you liked?
Oh, so let's see. Well, like I was saying, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, all that kind of thing. So my dad,
Mm-hmm.
when I was growing up, he always had those movies playing, and he'd fall asleep in front of the TV with those movies, right? That
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so I grew up with that kind of thing. And also, too, one thing I didn't mention, something else about my dad and my mom. My dad had like a radio show called Saturday Night on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And every Saturday night, this radio show would come on. He'd pre-record it, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
then every Saturday night when I was growing up, it would be "Good evening. This is Don Elser, and it's Saturday night on Broadway. And tonight we're going to talk about Mary Martin and yada yada yada." So
Yeah.
I grew up with that kind of theatrical thing around me, and then plus my dad was professor of theater at the university in Youngstown State University. So I would go to a lot of plays and that kind of thing. And then, so I was around, I had theater and all that kind of thing around me. And when I was really little, I used
Mm-hmm.
to put on plays and entertain my family with, put on whole shows to the Boston Pops. I'd put on like a whole musical show with costumes and hats and everything. And they'd have
Nice.
their friends over, and I was always performing, so that's how it started,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I had the huge crush on Cary Grant growing up. My mom had this paperback book about him, and it had all these beautiful black and white pictures of him, and that's where it started for me. And I also love Jimmy
Yeah.
Stewart and Jimmy
Yep.
Cagney, John Wayne, Barbara Stanwyck, Errol Flynn, a lot of those old stars from that period.
Yeah. Barbara Stanwyck, she's like my favorite to this day. She was a strong, very, very influential woman.
Yes,
I really like that. Yeah.
people
And
like
do you, go
mhm,
ahead.
people like her and Betty Davis and Katharine Hepburn. They were all strong women in those days.
They were, and such great actresses, and they didn't take a lot of shit from people. I mean,
No,
they just did their, I mean, they were role model. I mean, I'm sure there's absolutely a lot of actresses now, but back then it was
hmm
kind of, to be like that was, not always acceptable, but they were, you
yeah.
know. So, yeah, but so yeah, do you watch a lot of those old movies now?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
really? Are you?
all the time. I got probably over 2,000 movies in my personal collection of just classics.
Oh my gosh! Oh my God! I want to come to your place and watch a movie.
Yeah.
You're kind of far though, but
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, God, my grandmother, when I was growing up, when we first got TNT and stuff, I just watched the classics with her and stuff. And yeah, they're just there's nothing like the black and white movies. They're so wonderful.
Yeah, they really are. And there's something like I like to escape. I for me, it's like it just takes me away from the world, and for a while, and I can go back in time to a different time,
hmm
and I love it too because it's also very. It's like whatever was happening socially and whatever was happening historically, it was all in those movies. So it's kind of like culturally. So it's really kind of fun to see what they did and how they dressed and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
and for me, I like to dress. I'm kind of funny. Like I like to get dressed up. Well, it is pretty popular with vintage clothes and all that. I mean,
hmm
you know, that's like how I like to dress a lot of times too. So,
Yeah. So, do you remember the first album that you ever bought with your own money?
you know what? I have to think back. It was because I had two big posters on my wall. I had Gary Wright,
hmm
Dreamweaver, and I mean, this is really going back.
That
This
album
is
was
70s.
huge.
So we're really going, and then John Denver.
Nice.
Johnny Denver. Yeah, and Genesis. I
Ah,
was really into Genesis. So, and Peter Gabriel.
love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Lamb
Yeah.
Lies Down on Broadway. Oh, that's a great album.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna love this.
hmm
I inherited like almost 900 vinyl
hmm
of music from the 70s and the 80s,
Wow.
and some 60s too, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and rock, jazz, pop. I mean, it's but I don't have a turntable,
Yeah.
so I can't play anything.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few vinyl records just for collector's items, but I don't have a turntable either.
Yeah, but the artwork was really great on those albums.
They were, they were. Do you remember the first concert you ever attended?
Okay, let me think back. I think it was Neil Young.
Nice. Love Neil Young.
It was Neil Young, but you know what? It was actually, well, this is I think I went to some concerts before that, but the one that I remember is Neil Young's, um, was it Transmission or
Trans,
I think it was
yeah, that's the name of
Trans.
the album, Trans. Yeah.
Yeah, because my first late husband, he got to a gig where he had to work backstage
Right.
on some of the writing, so of course I got to go in free.
Yeah.
I got to go free. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
great too.
Yeah, that's the album
I,
he did where he's like talking through a vocoder because his son has like some kind of autism or cerebral palsy or something, and he was trying to make some music that his son would understand. You know?
oh yeah, I do remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah,
But I do remember that somehow it wasn't accepted very well, like because people were so used to,
yeah.
you know, him differently.
He was trying to make
Yeah,
it. He was trying to make it as craft work like as possible for the public to buy it, but unfortunately they didn't.
yeah, they're like, no, we want to hear you know, we want to hear the Heart of Gold or whatever. It's one of those.
Yeah, or after the Gold Rush and Cinnamon Girl and
Exactly.
all that.
Yeah, it was big. But art is about taking chances.
Yes, it
I mean, it
is.
really. And if we don't, then I think we need to do it just for ourselves. And if people can go along with it, great. If they don't, well, it's a chance you take. So
It
it's
is.
you
Where are you from
it's kind of
originally?
so originally I'm from Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and so this album that came out today is actually from the guy that wrote it and produced it and
Mm-hmm.
arranged it. He's from Ohio, and there's a song on there about where I grew up in North Lima, Ohio. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's where I'm from originally, Ohio.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Of course, Neil Young did the song Ohio after Kent State.
Right? Yeah. So here's something for you.
Mm-hmm.
My father, since he was a professor at Youngstown State,
Mm-hmm.
he had a student that was one of his favorite students. He tells the story that she was going to go to Kent State to the protests, and he said, I if I were you, I would probably just maybe stay home because it looks like it could get really
Ugly.
volatile there, and she ended
Yeah.
up not going. But he tells stories about some of the students and everything because Kent State was only about like an hour from Youngstown State. So
Wow.
yeah, and I forgot how old I was. Oh, I want to tell you because it'll age me.
Yeah.
You'll really know how old I am. That doesn't matter.
That's okay. So after high school, did you attend college?
I did. I went to the same school, Youngstown State.
Mm-hmm. Did you do
Yeah,
any kind of theater over there?
I did. I did theater and I did plays. I was in a doll's house as Nora in a doll's house,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was in a play called uh, "The Effect of Gamma Rays on Man on the Moon Marigolds," and I played this part of Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I guess I did really well because I had to have an epileptic seizure,
Mm-hmm.
and it went so well that people just had to take a minute, like they didn't know what to do, and then the curtain closes, right? And then they would, and I got all this applause. So I thought, I guess I did that right, but it was a pretty intense role. So, and
Yeah.
then I did some musicals and that kind of thing there at
Yeah.
Youngstown State. So yeah,
Did you have
doing
any
theater.
like? Did you have any like classmates we would know?
Oh yeah. Well, he went like after me. What is it, that show that, oh, not, it's Married with Children.
Ed O'Neill.
Okay, well, yes. So he went to Youngstown State after I did.
Yeah, I know he's
Oh,
a.
wait, but before, I'm sorry, it was before me.
Yeah,
So
he's a Youngstown guy. I know that.
yeah, yeah. So he was in the theater department there. Um, Nobody else that I know of. I think I knew more people in when I moved to Chicago than I did in Youngstown that kind of like you might know.
Oh,
Um,
what year did you move to Chicago?
I moved there 1980.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I do know Chicago actors. Do you know Bob Swan?
Yeah, I knew Bob Swan.
Bob's been
Yeah.
on. Sherry Narins, rest in peace.
No, I don't know Sherry. Keep
Yeah,
going. I probably more.
God, there's so many. Ellen Crawford, and her husband Mike Genovese.
Yeah, I know them. I'm not very. well. I've just heard of them.
Yeah, yeah, people like that. Yeah, Vinny Gustafaro and Cynthia Kanya, his wife.
Yep, I've heard of them.
Yeah, good people, very good people. Yeah, so I mean, Chicago had a huge theater scene back then. I know that Joe Mantegna and Dennis Franz and John Lithgow, they all like came up at the same time together.
Yep, yep. How about Gary Sinise? Did you know him?
No, I've never met Gary, but of course I do know who he is. He's one of the founding members of the Steppenwolf Theater with
Yeah,
John Malkovich and Glenn Headley and Laurie Metcalf.
yeah, that whole group. So there was another actor, Ted Levine. Have you heard of Ted
I
Levine?
have.
So Ted Levine, he was. I think people would remember him from Silence of the Lambs,
Hmm.
and he was like the guy that danced around. He was the killer. He was the creepy guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember that
Yep.
part?
Yep, I remember.
I mean,
Yeah.
that movie scared the crap out of me. I was just really. But let me tell you something about Ted. Ted
Hmm.
Levine. So I did a commercial, and it was for the. It was like it was my first commercial. By the
Yeah.
way, my first commercial
Oh
I've
yeah.
ever made in Chicago because I did a lot of commercials, and
Oh yes, you did.
so yeah, I did. That was like so. I sold myself to the devil with the theatrical people like Goodman and Northwestern and everything because it was like, no, we're not going to make commercials. We're not going to do that. But I
Yeah.
had to pay my bill, so I did. But anyway, so my first commercial was Control Data Institute,
Hmm.
and and so I'm like this really young, innocent girl who's looking for a job, and she comes walking in this car graveyard. It's really dirty and stinky, and there's old cars everywhere. And
Hmm.
I walk in, and I'm all dressed up, and I have paper, and I said, "Hey, it says no experience necessary." So I walk in, and I walk in and I sit down and it says, you could get a better job at Control Data Institute or da da da. But anyway, there's these two guys that work there, and one of them was Ted Levine, and he was like really stinky and slimy and gross, and he really, really did smell. I mean, he just, oh my God, he's eating a piece of chicken all over me. I'm just like trying to type and trying to do my job.
Yeah.
Anyway, because he was really into method acting and that kind of thing. So right before we shot the commercial, shot that scene, he went and rolled in the mud and got all dirty, and I don't know, he poured something on it to make him smell really bad, but
Yeah.
it worked. He was so sleazy. And
Oh
then
yeah.
about like 20, oh my God, 25 years later, I'm here in Rhode Island, and I'm on a set doing something, and he said, and I knew it was a Vinny Pisano, not Vinny Pisano, sorry, Vinny, the
Hmm.
fighter from here, from Rhode Island. I think it was Vinny, well, whatever, but the movie. But he was in it. And this is like 25 years later. And I said, do you remember me? I was the Control Data Institute girl. And he remembered me
Yeah.
after all those years. That felt good.
Yeah, I was on your channel, and God, you did so many like Lewis Kemp and Wisconsin manufactured homes where you're like making out by the fireplace and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Baco's, yeah, which was the kind of cholesterol-free bacon bits and stuff. Yeah, I mean, God, back then you could make a pretty good living doing commercials. I don't think actors can nowadays.
No, it was a whole different thing. I mean, in the 80s,
Hmm.
I lived in Chicago in the 80s.
Yeah.
I got, I mean, that's all I did. I mean, I got really wrapped up in the commercials and because I was a pretty quick study and I had a comedic sense, I guess you could say it. I could do the bite and smiles really well, McDonald's commercials and all
Yeah.
that, and flakes and all that. But I made a really pretty good living, and then, but that all kind of died. But in the 80s, it was good. It was really good. So, and 90s too, 80s and 90s.
Oh yeah.
But
Now it's just
There's
like
nothing like
they
that here.
they want big stars in commercials now. You know, it's hard to be, an ordinary working actor and make a living with commercials because all the stars are being cast now.
Exactly, exactly. And it's just different. And I kind of grew out of it too. I mean, I'm older. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I was like the perfect age for it because with it just seemed like I had that role, the role like the face that you use for the young mom and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
as I got older, the kids that they would cast me with, they got older and older and older. I had a baby. Oh wow, look at me. I'm like this new mom with a baby, and then years pass, and all of a sudden, oh, here I am with this college age kid. I'm sending him off to college, and then things go back. And now I think if I were to go back into making commercials again, it would be, oh wow, I'm using Depends now, and my husband's on Viagra. I mean, but I
Yeah.
don't make commercials anymore, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was then.
Yeah, and I saw this one video on your channel. I don't know what it was from. It didn't say. It was where you're like a nurse in a hospital, and you have like a philosophy of being nice to others. Um,
Oh,
what
that
was that?
was one of these training films of what not to do in a hospital.
Oh,
Because
okay.
in Chicago, that was the other thing about Chicago that we all worked like crazy.
Hmm.
We do these like training films, for accounting firms and for hospitals and all that.
Hmm.
So I was always the young innocent one who was, like on board. And that for particular that was a candy striper. I think that's the one you're thinking of, right?
Yes,
Where I go,
yes. Yeah, you're just so fresh faced and wholesome. Yeah.
yeah. And then I go, gee, I wish everybody could be really nice. you know,
Yeah.
little did I know I was out partying the night before, right? I was like,
Yeah.
no.
That's hilarious. So, how do you come
Yeah.
to be Haviland Morris's new double for 16 Candles?
So, okay, so this is funny. All right, so I was like, I don't know, 20 or something around there.
Yeah.
And my agent calls me and she says, hey, this is kind of a weird request, but they need a body double for, Evelyn Morris. And would you like to audition for it? I said, what do you mean audition for it? Either I'm doing it or I mean, I don't know. So, but they wanted to because they needed like a body that was similar to hers.
Hmm.
So I had to go in and I had to show the side of me. They just needed like from the waist up, really.
Yeah.
So then I ended up getting it. I'm like, sure, fine, why not? So
Hmm.
I did it, and it was, but the boobs are not mine.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you watch the movie, I know it's really quick, right? The girl in the shower. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really, unless you pause it and you go, wow. And even that, it's very like steamy, so you don't even really see me.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there who are like going to go and pause it and look, it's like 40 years ago. But the boobs are not mine because mine were not big enough. But so whatever, that's the magic of movies, right? But the
Yeah.
thing is that I sat in a trailer for 2 weeks. I had the wig on and everything, and being because I was Screen Actors Guild, of course they gave me credit. Girl in
Hmm.
the shower, Paula. I had my maiden name, Paula Lynn Elser, so Paula
Yeah.
Elser. But they said, like girl in the shower, but I made a lot of money, Tommy, on that over the years because of the
Yeah.
video set, all that, and I still get checks in. I still get checks in. So I made enough money that it's really added a lot to my Screen Actors Guild pension. So now I'm collecting from
That's
standing
awesome.
in the shower like that.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. But wait a second, 2 weeks? Like, oh my God, what were you doing those whole 2 weeks?
Oh, sitting in the trailer next to Molly Ringwald, just sitting there waiting to go on. And here's the crazy thing.
Uh-huh.
I remember because I'd go in and they'd have to. I have to have a wig on and blah blah blah. I remember I had a robe. I just sit around with a robe and this wig on
Hmm.
in the trailer, just waiting, 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 and next to Molly. Um, and that's like, and they just kept putting it off, putting it off. It didn't get to the scene. Didn't get finally, and it was a closed scene too, so it was just obviously not everybody was around, which was good, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of thing. But
It.
my husband, eventually, I married a cinematographer,
Yep.
Brian Clare, yeah, and
He
he was a pardon.
he was the best boy on two of my favorite Chicago movies, Big Shots and Vice Versa.
Yes, yes. And you know what his well, so he had a fashion photography business,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like big fashion photographer, right? And
Yeah.
in Chicago, I met him. But yeah, he wanted to go into, movies and films, so he kind of worked his way up. He worked his way up as that, and he did the best. He did that on those films. But he was also on the Joe Settlemeyer commercials. Remember Joe Settlemeyer
No.
commercial?
No.
I don't know if you heard of him. In the 80s, he was big in Chicago, and he made all the Alaskan Airlines commercials and all the Wendy's commercials.
Wow. Joe Settlemeyer. I'll have to look him up. Um.
Yeah,
Wow. So did you actually get to meet Haviland Morris?
I did. Yeah, I met everybody.
She was
And
nice.
yeah, she was fine. Everybody was really nice. I mean, they were all kids.
Yeah.
You know, they were kids and beginning of their careers. So,
I've talked to Leanne Curtis. She's been on twice.
yeah,
John Capelis, who played Molly's soon-to-be brother-in-law, and Cinnamon Idols, who played her little sister. They all love being associated with this movie, and John Hughes in general because he was such a genius.
yeah, yeah. Did you ever talk to Joan Cusack?
Joan
She was the
Cusack? No, but I talked to her sister Anne.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole family that like her brother and her and
Yeah.
they're all, but she had to wear that brace all the time around her neck. Can you imagine?
Yeah, well, she did My Bodyguard a few years before that, and she played a real nerd in that one, and so did Jennifer Beals from Flashdance. Jennifer Beals can play a nerd and still look gorgeous, I'll tell you.
I know she's so pretty. She's so she's really pretty, and I remember that movie too, Flashdance. Yeah, very
Yep,
80s.
it's a Philadelphia
So
movie. Go ahead.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you remember Breakfast Club, right?
Oh, I could like quote that entire movie backwards. I love it.
Oh, you're great, Tommy.
I went
I
on
love it.
I went on a date one time. I quoted like the first 10 minutes and I got laid that night.
I love it.
Yeah. John Hughes, oh my god, he was okay, so he had already written for National Lampoon and he wrote Class Reunion and Vacation and Mr. Mom. This was his first movie as a director. I mean, did he look like he knew what he was doing on set?
Yeah, and he was a nice guy. He was a lot of fun. He was a really nice guy.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you about Breakfast Club though, because
Oh,
so
were you up for that?
well, sort of. I mean, okay, so now here I am. I'm a theatrical actress.
Hmm.
I'm legitimate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got lovely commercials, but I've already done this shower scene. So I get in. I get a call from my agent, and she says, "Hey, Paula, John Hughes wants to know if you would like to be in Breakfast Club." And I said, "What's movie? What's that all about?" "Oh, it's about these kids and blah 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 blah." Blah.
Hmm.
And there's a scene in it where it's a skinny dipping scene. Now remember, that never happened because it was all interior shots. There was never any exterior shots. It
Hmm.
was just they thought they were going to do something like a skinny dipping scene, but it never happened, right?
Yeah.
But that was when they were first, starting and hadn't even cast stuff yet. But
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, excuse me, what? Do I have any speaking lines or no? It's just a skinny, a bunch of kids skinny dipping. I said, that's okay. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, did I look that good in the shower? I don't know.
You did. You did. that
Anyway.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to the girl that was cut out of the Breakfast Club. The janitor had a love interest who was the gym teacher, and I didn't interview her because of that. I interviewed her because of her other work, but I found in my research that she had been cut out as the janitor's love interest. I was like, oh wow, I wish that footage was out there, but it's not. There's other footage from the Breakfast Club that's been cut that's on like the Blu-ray and stuff.
Oh wow! So you have all that kind of stuff? Do you like to watch? I mean, that's really
Oh
cool
yeah,
to
oh yeah.
all that history.
I see stuff that's cut that should have been in the final product. That's so good, you know. But I can understand why it was cut, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But that's really fun to see that kind of stuff.
yeah, and it also should be noted too. This movie came out just before PG-13. You know, once Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Gremlins came out, there was a lot of brouhaha surrounding those movies because they were PG and they should have. They were there was like okay, it was middle ground between okay, it's too little for R and too much for PG, so they came up with PG-13. I think this movie would have been PG-13 if it had come out after those movies. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. In fact, when 16 Candles shows like on cable or
Yeah.
on whatever, that shower scene is not even in there.
I know.
I mean, they cut it out. Of course, I still get paid, but they cut it out, so can't show it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. So, what did you think of the movie when you first saw it?
I thought it was funny. I thought
Hmm.
it was really because it really is funny. But times have changed a lot, and there's a lot of controversy, I think, now in like politically correctness because
Yeah.
obviously that scene with Anthony Michael Hall in the car,
Yeah.
right? With it's probably like no, I mean, let's look at it this way. That song "Baby It's Cold Outside."
Yes.
That "Baby It's Cold Outside." Remember they like few years ago, they wouldn't even some stations and something they wouldn't even play that song because they
Yeah.
thought it was not really good for women, and it's very like kind of seductive or whatever.
Yeah.
But it came from a movie. It came from, and it's actually they were both saying it. They were both singing it to each other. So back in the day, I forget what movie it was. Maybe you probably know, right? Baby, it's cold outside.
I can't even think right now, but yes, I know the song.
Right, and it came from it was like in the 1940s, and the man was singing it to her, the woman, and the woman was singing it to the
Yeah.
man. So it's not. But then when people hear the song, they think it's one way, and they think it's really not right. But back to 16 Candles, when that movie came out, nobody thought about the certain things in it that were kind of like oh, you shouldn't treat a young girl like that. Young girls shouldn't be treated like that, and I get it, but back then it wasn't an issue at all. Now it's kind of an issue. So
Hmm.
once again, cultural thing with movies, right? It's
Yeah.
everything changes. I've listened to a bunch of your interviews, and you have such great people on it. It's fun.
Which ones did you listen to?
I listened to was when you first reached out to me. I can't remember everybody's names. I'd have to like look at the past stuff that I was watching. Well, there was one that was from 16 Candles. Is that who you were talking about? She was in 16 Candles also. She was.
Yeah, Cinnamon Idols
Yes, that's the one I listened to.
or
Yeah.
Leanne, one of the two. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The first one. Yeah.
So we know how
Yeah.
inaccurate IMDb is, but were you in any other movies and TV shows maybe they don't list?
Yeah. Early Edition was one of them.
Hmm.
That was from Chicago, and and so that one. Well, I was killed. I was killed by a drunk. I was part of a drunk driving incident. I wasn't driving. I was the wife, and we had a big argument, and we got stuck on a train track, and I got hit.
Hmm.
So it was a bit part, but I had speaking roles, speaking lines, and then, well, when I was out in LA, it was between about five of us for Empty Nest. So I almost, because I was only out there for about 8 months.
Hmm.
So it was with J. Michael Bloom, and I was really, really close because I got called back and called back and called back. And then, of course, Christy McNichol was the one, that was the role that I was up for.
Nice.
So
I met Christy McNichol. She's very sweet.
it is, yeah, yeah.
I love that
But you know
show.
what?
Go
I
ahead.
do too. But what happened with me is that I ended up coming back to Chicago out of LA and then getting married and having my son, and then one thing after another, started raising horses, and so life kind of took a different turn, which is okay.
Hmm.
But
So
that's what.
you started focusing on music.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Music and writing. So I have the album that was released today. It's called So Fine,
Hmm.
and so that just today it was released, and how that came about, because I do a lot of writing and recording with different people, but this particular songwriter, I've known him for 20 years, and he heard me singing in a bathroom once in New Orleans, and he said, "Hey, I'm a songwriter. I love your voice. Would you like to sing some of my songs?" And I'm like, "Okay." So over the years, I sang some songs for him over the last 20 years, and we would record together. And what I do is I record my tracks here and I send them remotely.
Hmm.
So then he called me about 2 years ago and he said, "Hey, I have an album of songs that I've written and I really want you to sing the whole album." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds great." And he says, "And it's going to be your album." And I said, "Yes, but really? Are you sure?" He says, "Okay." So it took us about 2 years to do it because life just happened. For both of us, different things happened. And we finally finished it. So it's coming out. It's today, and it's like 12 songs, and yeah. So then I'm writing my own stuff, which is going to be with another writer. We're collaborating, and it's going to be coming out in April. So
Hmm.
that I'll have two albums coming out in the next like 10 months here.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I was on your website and I watched the video for "Dance of Love." That's a great song. It's very reminiscent of like '60s psychedelic baroque pop, almost Bengals esque. I enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah, and I checked my distributor. I use it's called TuneCore, and singers
Hmm.
probably writers know what that is. But I checked it, and I didn't even realize it. And even Jack, the guy I'm working with right now, he says, "Do you know you have 22,000 plays on that song?" And I'm like, "What?" But the song's been out there for like 3 years, and the guy I co-wrote it. I wrote it with a guy. His name's Paul Doby, and we wrote that song together during COVID. We wrote about 5 songs together. So that one is like really taking off. The Dance of Love, you know.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, it is kind of a great song, isn't it?
it
It's like we
is.
did okay on that.
Another one I like is "Tighter." I like it when you say, "fuck you up."
You know what? I have no I didn't I thought, oh my God, Spotify is not going to be they're not going to let me put that song out there on the streaming, but it has a big E on it for
Hmm.
explicit. So okay, it's not for children. But I wrote that song during COVID
Hmm.
because I have all these songwriting friends and musicians, and we pass stuff around, right? And
Yeah.
during COVID, and I have my own studio, so I record here in my own studio, then I send stuff out. But a friend of mine, he had sent me like a drum track, and then he said, "I'm going to send this to this other guy, Marty Ballou. I'm going to send this to him, and he can add some bass to it, and then we're going to send it to you." And I said, "Okay." And there was no like melody; there was just a bunch of chord progressions, and they sent it to me, and I do a lot of dog rescue, so I
Hmm.
was out driving some dogs around, and then I heard what they sent to me. It's just a bass and drums chord progression. And then I just
Hmm.
came up with those lyrics in one afternoon. So I wrote the lyrics and the melody line for that song, Tighter. Just kind of is how I feel sometimes about life. Sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like, oh my God, there's just too much right now. I can't take it. Just give me a break. That kind of thing, right? So that's what that song's about.
Yeah. Where'd you get that
Yeah.
name, the Sunshine Pops Orchestra? I love it.
Yeah, so that's this album today that's coming out with Jack Rubin.
Hmm.
So Jack, he with this album, he did all the instrumentation. He played all the instruments except for the strings and the horns. That's more of like a George Martin, you know, type of feeling to it. Um, but he calls himself the Sunshine Puffs. That's what he calls his kind of his arrangement in his groups. So that's what that's all about. Um, so if you get a chance to listen to it, I think
Oh
you'll
yeah.
like it. It's very 60s. It's very yeah,
I
it's very pop.
I love that '60s pop thing.
You'll like it.
I I
I
love.
hope.
Yeah, I think I will by this point. I love that '60s pop sound. It's wonderful, and more people need to do that kind of music because it's become kind of lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, too. Yeah, and it's happy go lucky, just you know, simple, not simple, but I mean, just like makes you it's feel good stuff,
Feel
feel good
good
music.
music. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you write your own songs?
I do. So
Hmm.
Tighter was basically written, the lyrics. I write a lot of lyrics. I also play the piano, and I write, with my piano and my lyrics. But the album that's coming out in April, um, that I am collaborating with another writer, but a lot of them are my songs that I wrote, and he had a lot of confidence in me. He said, "All right, let's put this stuff out there, the songs that you've written." And I'm like, "Okay." So that album is going to be coming out for a release date of April 6th. So hopefully that'll all come together. We're almost done. We just have two more songs to finish, and then that album will be done. So, but those are songs that I've written, and then a couple that I've collaborated on. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so awesome. Are you going to do any tour dates for it?
Well, maybe we're thinking about it. This one that was released today, we're not going to be touring with it, but the one in the spring,
Hmm.
um, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I just have to make it happen. I just have to make it happen. That's the thing. You got to make things happen.
Absolutely. You got to make things
So
happen.
we'll see.
You got to be proactive.
Exactly, exactly. But I do so much musically. I'm in like four bands.
Wow.
Um, what else do I do? I mean, I gig every single weekend, and then all the work that goes into trying to market it all. I'm always marketing
Hmm.
the music and trying to get out there and the networking and all that kind of thing. It's like a full-time job,
Oh yeah.
as artists know.
So now we gotta play my secret silly game. This is a series
Oh,
of silly slumber party questions. It's no win or lose, it's just pure fun. And how the game works, Paula, is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question and I answer it. And feel free to comment on the answers because they might be funny.
okay. All right.
Paula,
Hope
are
I can
you
do this.
Paula, are you ticklish?
Yes, I am. Tommy, are you ticklish?
Oh yes, but if you tickle me without warning, I might hit you in the groin.
Okay.
Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
Oh my God. My belly button is an outie and I hate it. What is yours? Is
It's
yours an innie?
it's a deep innie, and I love outie belly buttons.
Oh my God. No, I don't like them. No. But thank you. All right. Yeah. Mm.
what what color are your toenails painted?
Oh, they're not painted now.
Okay,
No. How about you? What color are your toenails painted?
they are brown
Really?
for Thanksgiving.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I should do that.
What would you say is your best personality trait?
Oh, let's see. Well, I'm outgoing. How about you? What's your best personality trait?
I have empathy and I have no filter.
Oh, those are great.
Yes.
They really are. They're really great. Oh, I like you. You're a
Thank
nice
you.
guy.
Thank you. If this is too personal, I'll cut this. But tomorrow is National Quickie Day, so that's why I'm asking this. What's your favorite place to have a quickie in?
A quickie. Oh my God. Let me think about that one. Oh, I have to be quick about it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
in a barn.
Okay, barn's good.
Yeah. What about you? Where's your quickie?
Back when you could actually get away with it, the back of a movie theater.
Oh my God! Yes, I didn't even think of that. Yes.
Yeah, back then it was finger quickies though. If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
uh, I think what would it be? Maybe a song.
Oh, that's beautiful. Paula, like, hey, hey, Paula, I'm in love with you. Hey, Paula.
Yeah, yeah. Or hey, hey, Paula. Yeah, that would be great. I don't know. I have heard that song a lot my whole life, so yeah, I've heard it.
Me, I'd have a vibrator named after me.
Oh no, 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 no.
And I would,
Serious.
yeah, I would call it the Tommy Chatsy.
How about the Tommy Kovacian? I don't know.
Kovacian. It's
That's
a,
a great name. But you have a great name.
thank you, thank
How do you?
you. And then my favorite question, is there a stinky
Okay.
smell that just makes you gag?
Oh yeah, a dead mouse.
Yeah. That's great.
How about you? What's a dead smell that just completely makes you want to vomit?
Either farts or feet.
Farts or feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's true. Farts are the one. Well, some of them smell okay though.
Yeah.
Mine smell pretty good. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's hilarious. Hey, I got a joke for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What do you call a boy that doesn't masturbate?
Um, I don't know. What do you call? I don't know. Tell me.
A
What is it?
liar.
A liar, for sure. What did they used to say that makes you go blind?
Oh yeah, or you're like you get hair on your palms, which is not true.
Yeah, I mean all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
God, that's scary stuff
The
for little
old
kids.
the old wives'
Imagine.
tales.
Yeah, but it's like, oh my God. Yeah, no, that's not good.
So one last
Oh,
time, what's the name of the new album?
it's called So Fine.
So Fine, and
So
it's available on Spotify. Is it on your website?
it's on my website. Yeah, it's on my website and a Bandcamp. I mean, we had a few metadata problems for the streaming for Spotify, so it won't be available for a couple more days on Spotify and Apple, but
Hmm.
it's available on my website and they call it Bandcamp. So if they go to my website, they'll find it.
I like that Bandcamp.
PaulaClareMusic.com.
Reminds me of American Pie. Well, Paula, I thank you so much for coming on today, and I hope this album does well for you and that you get out there and do some live shows. And I hope you have a happy holiday season and be safe out there.
Oh, thank you, Tommy, and thank you for finding me. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yes, you have yourself a great day.
Oh, you too. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Well, there you have it. Paula Clare. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my god, she is just a ball of energy. I don't think she knew what to expect with this interview. I mean, she told me she did listen to some and stuff, but I could just sense her energy, and I can sense that at the end of the day, she had a great time. So once again, Paula's website is www.paulaclaremusic.com. Go listen to So Fine. I'm going to do the same. It's finally out today. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!